it is Talking Reds on the Anfield Wrap. Harriet Prior and Fuad Hasan with you this morning. Hope you were having a lovely week. Are you having a lovely week?
I am. I'm having a lovely transfer-full week.
It's been very transfer-filled, hasn't it?
Transfer.
Every single day we get a new name brought to us and we're just trying to get every perspective we can. So I hope you're enjoying all the content we are putting out. We are working very hard to give you literally everything on literally everyone we're linked with. But Mac Allister looks like it's the one that's about to get done. I'm thinking in the next 24 hours. How are you feeling about it?
I'm excited. I think, like, obviously with these ones where it's been a bit of a slow build and we've heard about it for a while, you know, maybe it's a bit harder to have that sort of instant excitement, but still, you know, seeing him in the red shirt and all the little pictures and all the little
there won't be any
content.
Christmas trees, sadly.
No,
Christmas
there won't.
trees
But I'm looking forward to just sort of, you know, hearing what he has to say as well and those sort of things, because he seems like a really kind of nice, humble, down-to-earth guy. So yeah, I'm excited. He's a great player. So, you know, how can you not be excited?
Yeah, I think it's going to slot straight in. And one thing I really like about it is the fact that he's come so early in the window and the manager's got a whole pre-season with him to really work out where he wants him to play. And something we've just been talking about on one of the shows we just did is, do you think that Klopp's bringing him in with a plan of where he wants him to play, or do you think he's going to be a bit more versatile, play with him a little bit, see where he fits in and go from there, kind of like he did with Gakpo? Yeah,
it's difficult, isn't it? Because there's been all this talk about the release clause and everything in his contract and how cheap it is really in the grand scheme of things. So in one sense, it makes me think that they've seen a great deal for a great player, and it's sort of an opportunity they can't really turn down, especially with the manager wanting him and everything. So there's that, but at the same time, I feel like there will be a bit of a plan. I feel like if they are moving to the system that we saw towards the end of the season with Trent and how the midfield's been operating, then he sort of fits in that role as well. But then equally, you know, he plays in a 4-3-3 really well.
Yeah.
He did that for Argentina and was good in bits. So I guess the versatility is something that you're always going to be able to use. I really struggle with versatility.
I tried to say adaptability around 5 times earlier, didn't get there. You did well.
I did well, thank you. But that's always useful with us, isn't it? Especially when it comes to, you know, deep in the season, there's injuries, there's all these sorts of things. You can sort of fill in everywhere, and that's what all the content we've done and everyone we've spoken to about him, that's sort of been the key thing, how he can just sort of fit in everywhere. A bit of a Swiss Army knife of a footballer. I've robbed that from someone, I can't remember who, but that seems to be the kind of thing with him, and that's exactly what we need, don't we?
Yeah, I was looking at where he's played on the pitch, and it was really interesting to see the percentages split between basically in the defensive role, and that was more under Graham Potter, who liked to play him there, and then in the attacking role when De Zerbi came in. And I really like that he seems just very coachable. He seems like he can just work under anyone in any system, and that's one of definitely the key talking points. I'm going to put in a clip now from Talking Transfers. John Gibbons and Paul Gorsh yesterday talking about the latest with all the names that we've been linked to. Here you go.
The other one who was sort of heavily linked, you know, earlier in the summer was Mason Mount. Now it looks like he's more likely to go to Manchester United, although there's, you know, a bit of a jump between what United want to pay and what Chelsea wants. Did you sense for Liverpool it was one or the other? Because the similar-ish players, they certainly like to occupy similar positions on the pitch. So do you sense that they've you know, gone in for a couple of them thinking, well, you know, we'd certainly take one of those? Or do you think if the prices would have been right for certainly for Mount, then they might have done both of them?
Yeah, I think they might have done both if they had the opportunity to. I think he's someone who they've looked at for quite a while, really, and maybe the fact that they don't have top 4 and Manchester United do, maybe that swung it their way. I'm sure we'll see what develops on that one, but looks like United have won that race, but Liverpool have won the Mac Allister race. I think if you're weighing it up and you're looking at which one would you rather have had, maybe you'd be looking at Mac Allister slightly more than Mount. I'm not sure. That's
personal preference. They're both quality players, aren't they?
But I wouldn't grumble that Liverpool have ended up with Mac Allister and United have ended up with Mount. Certainly not too much in it either way, but I think had Liverpool had the way, they might have liked to have done both. But look, that's just the way it happens in it sometimes, and Liverpool are certainly getting a quality player in Mac Allister. The exciting thing is what happens next, because it's a little bit of open season for Liverpool, which is not normally the case. You know, normally they're operating from a position of power, if you like, having come off an excellent season where they've won something, or they look like they're on the cusp of really challenging again. This time, the pool of players capable of improving the first team is probably, you know, deeper than it has been in recent years. So it's going to be
more spaces in the squad as well.
And that, yeah. So it's a little bit of a different summer than it has been in recent years, but probably more exciting, really.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. As I said, we've got so much content out on the Anfield Wrap this week across audio and video, so do join on either our YouTube channel if you're watching there, and you can get access to all of our video content, or you can download the app, get yourself some free tokens and find out all you need to know about Mac Allister, Kone, Thuram, anyone we've been linked with we'll be talking about. But now what I want to do is answer a few of your questions that you've been asking on Twitter and Facebook, because I thought, we've done so much content, I'm going to hand it over to you. You tell us what you want us to talk about. And the first one is from Noel Cahill, sorry about the pronunciations here, but he's asked, who do you think will be signed next? Like, what's the next move after Mac Allister? And also, is defender just as important in this window?
I think a defender is just as important. I've got a weird feeling about Thuram. I feel like that's the next one, just because it's like you hear little things and then it goes quiet, and I feel like whenever it goes a bit quiet, that's when something's happening. But that might just be me. I really like the look of him. I don't know too much about him. I can't say I've watched him play. I've seen the YouTube videos like everyone else, but again, he feels like someone who's in a Mac Allister sense where they've sort of got all their moves really planned out in terms of where they want their career to go and the steps they want to take. And he's another one where I feel like we can mould, and I'm excited about moulding players this transfer window, that in terms of the profile of player we get in. I feel like that's what we need again. We need to get players in that Jurgen Klopp can sort of have his sort of touch on and turn into the players we need, and use the attributes that he sees in different ways maybe to how those players have been playing in their clubs before.
Do you want any specialists? Because I quite like a specialist in the 6 role personally. I'd like someone that really does the defensive stuff really well.
I think I see that, and I'm with you on that. I just think, Fabinho comes in and wasn't really a specialist 6.
True.
And he was a fullback, wasn't he, for Monaco for a bit, and then obviously he did play in midfield. I just think with what we demand of our 6s, it's hard to sort of find someone who just does that already and who isn't going to cost, crazy amounts of money. I feel like it is someone that they have to identify, maybe like a Kone or even a Thuram, where they see these attributes and they haven't necessarily been used like that in their teams where they're playing, but they're young enough, they've got the sort of intelligence and all these different things, the raw ingredients, to then sort of be moulded into that 6. And look, they'll need a bit of time to sort of bed into it fully, and that's where you hope Henderson and Fabinho can sort of give them that time early on next season.
Yeah, Robert has asked, when are we getting another episode of Agony? Don't hold me to this, but I'm hopeful that next week there'll be an episode of Agony released, so do keep your eye out for that. But I'm going to move on to Gareth Wall, who has asked, do we need a Bobby replacement? Because a lot of people have been saying, well, Gakpo was the replacement, but actually Bobby was still playing in bit parts last season, so do you need someone else to come in? Basically, do we need another forward?
I'm thinking more, do we need to replace the smile, the kung fu kicks, all that stuff? In which case, yes. I don't think as a player, I feel, I'm with you on Gakpo being the one for that. I feel like they're gonna sort of evolve that role a little bit, because everyone keeps saying there is no one like Bobby Firmino. So I feel like you can't just sort of get someone into and expect them to sort of replicate him. They've got to bring their own thing to the table. Yeah,
this is really funny from Roger. He said, we're off to Istanbul as a family tomorrow, as Jurgen suggested. Any good places to find fellow Reds among the madness? I'm really sorry that you're just going to be a sea of Man City fans. I'm hopeful there'll be some Reds there for you, but I can't recommend anything at this point. But good luck. Hope you have a nice time. I'm sure you will. It will still be a lovely family holiday. Someone's asked here thoughts on our homegrown quota. Well, actually, quite a few people have asked about our homegrown quota. What are you thinking about that, and who we bring in will impact that? You've done some research.
I've done some research. I'm not going to spill it all out because it's all stuff that's out there to read. I think it is a little bit of a thing. I feel like the under 21 rule and how that works might sort of benefit us a little bit, with maybe not with who we sign, but sort of which sort of players we still have at the club that can sort of take up those spots. I don't think it will make too much of a difference. I feel like they've thought about that. It feels like something that you'd expect someone.
You'd hope that someone's planned.
Exactly. Someone's planned. There's enough smart people at the club to have planned it. You don't want it. The thing is, you don't want to start dictating your transfer policy, if that makes sense. You want it to sort of fit in with the players you've already identified and things. So I feel like that's the case, and with the names that we're hearing links to, I feel like they've thought about it.
Yeah, Jasvinder, that was you that asked that one, so thank you for that question. I'm going to do one from Facebook now as well. Robbie Fowler's said, not the footballer, I'm not going to say what we actually call him on YouTube, but he said, what's the ideal amount of time without football? 2 weeks? A month? When do you think you'll be itching for the season to start again? I was saying before, I could have a couple of months without football, and Transferland is fun, isn't it? So you can't knock us for that.
It is, especially when you're busy in Transferland and you're doing all that.
Yeah, last season maybe not so fun.
No, exactly. No, I'm with you. 2 months feels perfect. It's like a school summer holiday, isn't it?
Yeah. Someone's asked here, Paul's asked, how can we keep all of our forwards happy? I don't know necessarily if we've got quite enough forwards, so we're going to be worrying about keeping them happy, because you think they'll all have games to play, and particularly I look at the Europa League and I think of someone like Darwin Núñez, and I think that's going to be his competition to kind of thrive in. And someone else, funnily enough, has asked, is he going to be our top scorer in the Europa League?
I'd back him for that. I think there's a thing with our forwards that's sort of shifted since sort of the front three has sort of kind of been taken apart a little bit. I think it's very hard nowadays to have a three and sort of rely on them every game like we did for so long. And almost not just in terms of like level and performance, but just things like luck with injuries, fitness issues, all these sorts of things. I just don't think you can do that anymore. The risk is too high. And I feel like they've sort of shifted a little bit with the idea or the acceptance that they're going to have to rotate a bit more. And look, if we get quality options in, we don't need to have that same consistency every week. We can sort of chop and change a little bit here and there. Which is exciting because you get different things from them in different games. So I think we've got enough options, and I feel like there's some young ones as well who need a bit of a chance. I like Cade Gordon, someone I keep thinking about, who we haven't seen much of because of injury issues and things like that. Growing pains, is it? Well, I mean, hopefully he's over those. Unless he keeps growing, which is I'm all for.
I think that was him. It was one of them. Maybe Tyler Morton. It was one of them.
Yeah, but there's got to be that little bit of a gap for these younger players to get a little bit of a chance in some of the League Cup games, things like that.
Yeah, do you know what? That's why I thought was the biggest difference last season, is that we let quite a few squad players go, Minamino, Origi, and I felt like you felt the impact of that in League Cup games, in FA Cup games, when we were playing games that didn't have as much riding on them. We couldn't tap into the other talent, and then the same guys were having to go again and again, and it felt that the physical fatigue and the mental fatigue was maybe a little bit too much. This is quite funny in the Facebook group. Sean O'Neill's put, what in God's name are Burnley doing? Stroke of genius or first step to inevitable relegation? If anyone hasn't seen, Burnley have already got the players back in. They're like us. They're not having a day off. They are just carrying on. They are powering through. They've had a week holiday. They are back in pre-season. What do you think about that?
It's too keen for me. It's too keen. I mean, he does seem a bit like that kind of guy, Vincent Kompany, doesn't he? He's very sort of, I guess the word's old school maybe, in how he goes about it. And I mean, look, maybe they're not planning to do loads of business, and they feel like they've got their guys, and they need to sort of, they're gonna stay up and they're gonna hit the ground running through working what they got and working really intensely. But it is insane. Like, I feel like you need at least a couple of weeks off. They deserve a beach holiday somewhere, don't they?
Yeah, they've just got promoted. They deserve a couple of weeks. But people were saying, well, they got promoted quite early, didn't they? So maybe the last couple of weeks. So they were still playing football. I just think, give them a little holiday. If you're watching Vincent Kompany, give them a holiday. A final thing from me, how many do you think we're going to sign? Give me a bit of a prediction over the summer.
I think 2 more midfielders.
So Mac Allister +2.
+2, yeah. I've got a feeling there'll be 2 more, based on nothing, by the way. I think a defender. I'm fairly sure. I feel like there's been enough links with people that there's someone that they're sort of that they're cooking up or looking for. But I think that's it. I don't think we'll get forward unless something happens, which I just don't see.
I think 4's probably about right. I think maybe a younger player as well, particularly if Keller goes. And actually, I'll finish on one more question, which I just remembered that someone asked. Who would be the squad players you'd be willing to let go if we are still working on the concept that we have to sell to buy?
Someone
like Keller for me would be maybe one you'd have to kind of let go to raise the funds for a new player.
Yeah, I've heard some chat from certain Tour contributors about Thiago, which I'm not in favour of.
I don't know how much money you're going to get for him now, though.
I see that. I think it's hard. I think maybe if a crazy offer comes for someone in terms of the forwards, but I don't think that's really what the manager wants. You can't be doing too much work, can you? The problem you start having is if you lose these guys and you've got to replace them, and you obviously got to do that without having the pre-planned thing of we're going to lose these guys in the summer. Here's our list of targets. Here's our plan to replace that hole. We don't need more. We don't need more work than we've already got at the moment in terms of building a squad again.
The sun has just come out. I can see Jordan panicking about the exposure, whether it's going to work or not. And talking of summer sales, which is going to lead me seamlessly onto my next point. I know, wow,
professional.
I'm so professional. I've even acknowledged it. We have got a summer sale on all of our lovely merch, so do go and get yourself a bargain. If you're going on holiday, lots of lovely t-shirts. I don't know what else we've got. Mugs. We've got all sorts down there. All. Keep Liam busy, keep him packing all the merch up. Thank you for joining us. As I mentioned before, we have got literally every bit of transfer content you could want across the Anfield Wrap. We've also got season reviews, we've got transfer games, we've got so much good content going out. Summer is a really fun time for us because we get to kind of step away from the match and do all the stuff we've been wanting to do for a really long time. So we'd really appreciate if you joined us. As I mentioned, you can download the app or you can join us on YouTube and you can get yourself some free tokens as well and listen to all of our content. And thank you as ever for joining us today. We'll see you next time.